Well, hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in for our very first episode of The Sweet Ever After. As many of you maybe know from Risen Nation that I'm Pastor Matt and this is Pastor Sydney, my beautiful, wonderful wife, and the first time we've been able to do a project together like this. So it should be fun. Are you excited?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to be releasing one of these every week during the month of February, talking about marriage, talking about relationships, and all that good stuff. And so maybe and hopefully give you a solid resource to look at as far as studying about marriage and thinking about marriage or improving your own marriage and hearing from our mistakes and our failures as well as our successes on what is going good and maybe what's things to improve on. So here we go. The Sweet Ever After. So, Sydney, talking about this, episode 1 of lovingly entitled, The Love Key, and the fact of having a good understanding of what love is. So, what is love? That is the question. So what do you think? What do you think about love? What is love?
I mean, it's a choice. You have to choose to love the person.
So you tell me it's not just a feeling.
No, absolutely not.
So you have to choose. So love is a choice. So obviously we take things to Scripture. So 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, which you probably, have heard at your wedding, or if you've been married, most of the time this gets read at weddings and every time we talk about love, but I think it is important and essential we understand what love is when we get started talking about this conversation and what it means to love somebody. But 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7 says, love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy. It is not boastful. It is not arrogant. I'm so glad I've never struggled with any of those things. It is not rude. It is. Why are you laughing? Okay. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not irritable. Love's not irritable.
Why did you look at me like that? I feel like that was pointed.
No. But it's just not. It's not irritable. It does not keep record of wrongs. Love finds no joy in unrighteousness, but it rejoices in the truth. It bears all things. It believes all things. It hopes all things, and it endures all things. Thinking about that, and endures all things. I think of, we're about to celebrate this summer 14 years of just blissful marriage.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Just an amazing times. 14 years of marriage, and we've been through some stuff, I'd say.
Yeah.
Some hard times, some tough times, but I do feel like it's probably made, no, I don't think probably. I know it's made our marriage much better and what it is today, going through some of these tough things. So speaking of this, obviously we're not perfect, and so we hate to break the news to you guys that may be watching this. So when we tell you things that we've learned or we talk about marriage, it's not from a position of judgment or saying, wow, why aren't you doing better? We're just being honest and transparent with you and things we've seen that work. And I can confidently say, and she's here right now, so she can call me out if I'm lying, but I can confidently say that we have a very healthy and a great marriage. Go ahead.
I think we do.
Is that true?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we do.
It's true. So it's been confirmed. You heard it here.
Yes.
It's totally true. We have a great marriage. Now we are not perfect.
No, absolutely.
I mean, I'm close, but I think
that's not true.
No?
No.
Okay. Well, so we're not perfect, but just to reminisce really quickly about our story. Being married almost coming up on 14 years.
Yes.
We got married young.
People thought we were crazy.
Yeah. We had that. People thought we were crazy. People thought you were pregnant.
Yeah, because we met and then got married pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think we dated for a month, I believe.
Yes.
I think that was the actual timeline.
Yeah.
And not just when I say people, it's not like just random people that were watching. Like close friends were like, hey, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And we were like, and we were crazy.
Absolutely.
And we knew we wanted to spend our lives together. And so we didn't believe in long engagements at all.
Because we were going to be poor either way. So.
That's right. And we were.
Yep.
We were very poor. Thank God for our parents. Otherwise, we may have not eaten some weeks. But man, those were fun times, though.
Yeah, but that first year, though.
Well, it was fun, but it was pretty wild.
Yes.
There was definitely some things that we had to compromise on. And remember, you didn't like the word.
I don't like that word, compromise.
Or what's the other word you don't like in general?
The S word.
No. Oh, submit.
Yeah.
Oh. I wasn't even going to talk about that.
What were you talking about?
But wives, submit to your husbands. Sydney loves that scripture. It gives her warm feelings every time. So no, I meant the word no, just in general. You didn't like the word no. That wasn't something you were used to hearing, and that was something I had to really break to you.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, that was tough. But I'm thinking of funniest fights. What do you remember one? What from those first couple years? What do you think was one of our funniest fights that you look on now and you just kind of laugh? That like whatever happened, or just what do you think was one of the funniest fights that we had?
I mean, I don't even know or remember what it was about. I just remember my response to the argument that we had was me packing a bag, and it was just all tops, no bottoms. It was towels.
And this was something you did regularly.
Yes.
Yeah. Like the first couple months.
Yeah, I would just grab random things and shove it in a bag, and I'm going somewhere.
And you were leaving.
Yeah, I was leaving. I didn't know what I was putting in there, but I was just, it was the action of putting the things in the bag that I needed you to.
Yes,
to
and
see
it was a strong message.
I was
sending.
serious. I was leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, with towels and tops.
Yeah, some of my clothes.
Yeah.
Sometimes too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't even know if they were clean. They were just going in the bag.
So I remember this fight in particular. Shared this in messages before in sermons, but I would start getting caught up in what I was doing. I wasn't paying as much attention to you as I probably should have. And instead of, as we say now, as we tell married couples, use your words.
Yes.
Instead of using your words, you used your behavior, and your behavior was to pack a bag and say that you were going to leave. Yes. Not sure where you were going.
I didn't know where I was going either.
And I remember it would cause me to panic, and I'd say, "Oh God, I gotta," and I'd chase you. I remember I'd chase you out to the car. I was like, "Please, babe, come back inside. I'll change. I'll
wait,
babe,
wait.
babe, wait. I'll be a better man, and just come back inside." And then after a while, though, I began to notice that you were packing things that made no sense, and then I realized that you weren't going anywhere in that time that I didn't follow you. How did that make you feel when you got to your car and I wasn't following behind?
Well, now I had to follow through with what I said. I had to leave, and I had no idea where I was going to go.
Yeah, because your parents made it clear you couldn't come back.
Yeah,
so that was.
I was like, any minute now he's going to come get me, and you didn't.
Just waiting,
so I was.
So you made a reappearance,
and then you didn't come out after me, so I was going to go get you to come get me.
Yeah.
Like, I was going to tell you.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that was...
You didn't do what you were supposed to do.
No, I remember that. And then, and thankfully, though, we eventually moved away from that. You got out of that habit, and we started using our words a little more.
Yeah, because I learned that it was so much easier to just tell you what I wanted and what I wanted you to do.
Wow.
And so...
That's
because you do it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I just tell you.
Believe it or not, I wanted to make you happy. So.
Yeah. And I wanted to be happy. So it was a win-win. I just tell you these things. And then, but also now that I would just tell you what I wanted, you learned what I wanted.
You did some training.
Yeah.
I
jokingly say that it was husband training because I just would tell you, this is what I want you to say.
Yeah.
This is what I want you to do. And you would do it.
Yeah.
And I would feel great, and we would move on with the rest of our day. So, but then you just learned me and what I liked and what I needed. And
I personally, one of my favorite fights that we had early on was when you do this a lot still. You disagree with me on things or tell me I'm wrong. And we like to have prove it moments where we both pick up. It's so funny. We'll say this, right? And maybe
I know where you're going.
Some of you watching this, you can relate to this, but you'll say something and then you'll both be kind of uncertain. So you both pick up your phones at the same time and start Googling to see who's right. And then there's either one person has a smirk and the other person has the hanging the head in shame. But yeah, my favorite one was when you proclaimed to me that Woolite was not a detergent. You remember that one?
I knew this is where you were going because when I pulled up the website, it was in blinking letters of Woolite is a detergent.
It is indeed a detergent.
We're gonna move on.
I remember that early on. I think my big thing, which you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think my big thing was I would say certain things and not think about the ramifications of some of the things I would say and the words that I would use that would be hurtful.
Yeah.
And honestly not mean it to be, but I would say whatever and, put my foot in my mouth and having those kind of things. But then there was those rare occasions where you would do something in the sense of like, oh, you need to admit that you're wrong.
Yeah, that was hard.
And I learned early on you didn't like that.
Nope. No.
So the Woolite one was a good intro to that because I waited because I heard you were going to go look it up and prove me wrong. And then all of a sudden silence.
Quiet.
And then you actually came out and tried to say, hey, so what are we doing for dinner? I mean, you literally tried to act like it didn't happen.
Yeah, because I was just, we were going to move on.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, those first 2 years were tough. Nobody liked to go out to eat with us. We pretty much fought everywhere, I think, in restaurants.
Because I brought a U-Haul truck worth of baggage into our marriage.
And we're definitely, in one of these episodes, we are going to get into that we've entitled it Baggage Claims, talking about working through past trauma and your relationships, because that's important. Yes. So I guess my question to you, and you can ask me this, but when do you feel most loved by me, would you say? That you really feel loved? And I don't even necessarily mean in like, a physical intimacy kind of way. I mean like you feel like I am indeed loved by this man. What are things that I do that really make you feel that way?
I mean, I feel like that like all the time, but you mean like just...
Yeah.
Like
but I mean like what's a specific thing that maybe you saying, maybe a guy listening to this, right, a husband listening to this can say, oh, okay, that might be something that, I look at maybe doing or applying.
Yeah, I think whenever I'm talking to you and you make a display of putting your phone down or closing what you're doing or stopping what you're doing and really like look at me and listen to me, I feel like that means a lot to me. That you aren't gonna put away, or you're going to put away all these distractions and just focus on me and what I'm saying to really listen to me and not, kind of listen. Yeah. That means a lot to me that you do that. I don't know, you do a lot for me. I'm very spoiled.
You are.
I am.
I'm glad we're recording this.
Yes. I will gladly admit I am very spoiled. Absolutely.
But, so into that point of what you said, that was actually something I remember we got in fights about a lot. Yeah. You would say, well, you're not paying attention to me. You're always on your phone. But at the same time, I remember we talked about this. I'd look over and at different times you would be on your phone. Yeah. And so I felt like, well, hold on, there's a bit of a double standard here. Yes. But I think in that sense, for men listening, because I can understand that frustration of like, oh, this feels like a double standard. But I think our job as men is to love regardless and to start leading in all things, right? Yeah. So yes, that was something we both needed to work on.
But you needed to do it first.
And I needed to start it. Yes, and I did. Yes. And it got better. And as you see now, whenever you are talking to me, my full attention, which is something we practice a lot because of being in ministry like we are, which is all consuming, and it'll consume your life if you let it. And so that's one of the things. It's not just like a 9 to 5. It's an all the time, all hours of the night, people calling, things happening.
And we'll say, hey, like, we're prioritizing family time or whatever, but also like if we need to finish a conversation, we'll be like, hey, I know that I see that you want to talk to me right now. Yeah. Just give me a second, close up whatever we're doing, and then we can give each other our undivided attention.
Yeah. And I think this is important when we talk about love, because what love is, right? It's all these things that are described, but love is God. So love, so God is love. Not to be confused with love being God as in your definition of love, but God is love. And so it was his idea, it's his creation, it's literally who he is. And so we get the opportunity of being married, right, is to discover what this really looks like, and that it is indeed a choice. It's not a feeling. And of course, I have feelings of love for you all the time and different things like that, but sometimes you invoke other feelings that aren't great, and
like rage,
like rage. And so those are the times where you have to look and say, okay, no, I've chosen this. Yes. And so I do think we see in our society today where love is totally misunderstood, where it is a feeling. Well, I can't help who I love. Yeah. This idea, right? Which then doesn't give you a lot of confidence further down the line when you're, 30 years in, and all of a sudden you have a monster dumpster fire in your life, and you have to continue to know that, one, I made a commitment, right? And two, that I'm choosing to love this person, and I chose this person out of everyone else. I didn't just accidentally fall into this, right? I chose them, which is something I often do when doing wedding ceremonies, marriage counseling, is to emphasize that love is indeed a choice. Yeah. And so you're making a choice, and you're making commitment right now in front of God, in front of all your friends and family, that you're choosing to love this woman, you are choosing to love this man for the rest of your life. Yeah. how long that is, which at times you almost shortened it for me.
Yes.
A little bit, but I'm still here. Praise God.
Yeah.
Didn't end up in the hospital, so that's good. But I would say this. I'll ask you this. What you kind of answer that, but what do you think I really do well for you? Like when you think about this, like as a woman, what's something me as a man that I'm doing that's really helping you? That you kind of have seen be issues elsewhere, right? And with friends, other relationships that we know, and other people that are newly married that we get to encounter, because again, being in ministry, we hear a lot of stories.
Yeah.
But what is something that when you hear stories sometimes of struggles, what is it that you think of that like, oh, I'm so glad Matt does this. He does this well. What do you think that is?
I mean, I think you love well, like you love people well, but I feel like you love me very well. Like you will put my needs often in front of yours. Whether like I've asked you to do that or not, you just, you do that. Like you see the need, and also like what really means a lot to me is like you've taken the time to really get to know how I function, because with like ADHD and things like that, like
it's wild. It's wild up there.
Yes, yeah. But you understand that like sometimes when I'm overstimulated, I can respond poorly, but you give me that grace a lot. Sometimes we end up arguing, but for the most part, you've given me a lot of grace to, pause and, give me a moment to like regulate my emotions and get it together. And so just you taking the time to understand how I operate and like who I am as a person, like that means a lot to me.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That is, and I've gotten to the place now where I do recognize certain things where you're elevated. I now bypass the whole thing by just leaving you a snack and avoiding you altogether.
Yes,
so.
just give me a snack and back away slowly.
That really helps me a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to answer that for you, and for especially like women listening, right? And you think of this like, how does a man think about this? But I think one of the best things that you do very well is our house, and try not to get all like emotional about it, but our house is a place where I always feel like I can come in and I can rest and I can just be me. And I know you're not waiting to hit me with something. I know you're not waiting to, most days, I know you're not waiting to hit me with something. I know it's not like I've never ever felt like I'm about to walk in and I'm in trouble, or like something's wrong. Like even when we are in the midst of a situation, like I always feel like home, you've made our house such a place of peace, where I can walk in, and for me, that's such a big deal because, like, I know of ministers and people. I've been to so many conferences and talked to so many pastors, and you get so much marriage advice, which is so important. But I hear so many of them say the exact same thing. Yeah, I'd sit in the parking lot, or not the parking lot, my driveway for, 45 minutes before I even walked in, just because I had to get myself in the headspace to even deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? And, like, I'm thinking, man, I don't ever do that. Like, I'm always excited to get home. I'm always excited to see you and our son Michael. I'm always excited to see the dogs. I'm excited to be home.
Yeah.
And you've created a place where I can really rest. And not only that, a place that I feel very respected. Like, I have a lot of say in what goes on. I have a lot of, authority to make decisions and stuff like that.
I mean, we don't need me to make a lot of the decisions because...
Well, yeah, I mean, different areas, especially finances. Maybe you're not the best at that, but
we have balance.
Which is important. We understand.
Yes.
We find out who is better at handling things, and we let that partner,
Yes.
That person handle it. Whether it's the wife, the husband, whatever spouse is better at doing those things, let them handle it, and that's very important. But I just want to say thank you for that, really, because it does make what I do so much easier, honestly. Because to be able to go home and really unwind and not feel so pressured. And like you said, as you know, I help around the house a lot. I do things, but I'm motivated to do those things because I'm doing them out of love for us, for our family, for our home. It's not because, if I don't do this, she's going to really, jump down my throat about it. Right. So it is those things. But that's the thing when I'm kind of trying to get this idea of the love key, right? If love is our motivation, right, we will always be meeting each other's needs.
Yeah.
To truly love somebody, and we say love, we mean like agape love.
Yeah, and respond in love. Because a lot of times in arguments and things like that, you'll have these thoughts and these feelings come up in your mind of like, you really want to say this or that, but it's like you have to pause and be like, is that coming from a place of love? And if it's not, then I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
But also like going a little bit back to like choosing love, like, even from the short amount of time, I mean, I say short, but it's been a while, that we've been married. We've been married a while. But
it's been a minute.
we experienced a lot of hard things early on that, like, there was not always those feelings of love.
Yeah.
At times, just being honest, like, that happens.
Yeah.
And just choosing, like, hey, like, I don't have those, like, butterfly feelings, but I'm choosing to love this person.
Yeah.
And I do have those feelings. They're back because they do come back.
Well, that's good. That's good news.
They do. You just have to push past that. And I
Yeah.
feel like so many people will be like, oh, well, those feelings of love are gone, so we must not be in love. And it's, no, you have to choose.
You have to work at it.
Yeah, you have to choose. And those feelings do come back, but you have to be intentional and put effort into your marriage.
Yes.
And it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies.
So one of the things we've seen a lot, just in our time in ministry and in dealing and helping other couples navigate certain things, one thing I've noticed a lot, especially for men, is it seems like a lot of men, and it doesn't exclusively belong to men do this, but I've seen a lot of men do this though, is they steamroll their wife for years, as far as they think, oh yeah, she loves this, she loves that, this is great, we're doing so well. And then all of a sudden it comes out that no, she's been miserable for years.
Yeah.
She hates everything you do. And it all just comes out at once. And it does seem very overwhelming and daunting in that moment. And so I think for me, one of the things I've learned is, like, I need to give attention to the details. The daily routine is where I need to be committed. Now, the big moments are great, yes, but this is something you learn too. I think the more you study the Word of God and walking with Jesus, right, is you have these big moments, you have these big experiences with God, like you see a miracle, or God opens a big door in a huge way, and you're like, this is amazing. Everybody loves to be on the mountaintop, but it's really your attention to the daily detail and commitment to your relationship in the valley that even created that moment.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, like, that's something that I found that has been super helpful in our marriage, is that I pay attention to the details.
Yeah.
What does Monday look like for us?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do I do when I come home and I say hello to you? What's the first thing that I do? How do I greet you? Right? How do I respond when you want my attention? All those kind of things. And one thing you've done really well with our son, added in the mix, which those that don't know, we fostered our son and he's now adopted. So we have a 17-year-old in our house. Which is a lot of fun.
Oh. Teenagers are something else.
So I think one of the things you do as well is sometimes I get frustrated, and I'll start to take my frustration out in places that it doesn't belong. And you're really good at recognizing that and saying, hey, like, that wasn't fair. Yeah. And like, when I think about it, immediately the Holy Spirit convicts me. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you dummy. Like, what were you doing?
But also, I make sure to not do that in front of him, because I don't want to.
Yeah. You do that very well.
I don't want to diminish your authority in the house by doing that in front of him. But I make sure that when he leaves, I'm, like, quick to address that, of like, hey, I think you need to go correct that, because I don't feel like that was right. So but I do wait.
Yeah, and we do that with, and I think it brings up another good point, which we're going to have a whole episode dedicated to covering each other. But I think that does point out to another thing that I think you do really well is, when we do have a disagreement, you don't talk down to me in front of other people. You don't, treat me in a negative way, right, in front of everyone. Instead, you wait, and right when we get in the car, or right when we get wherever we're going behind closed door, you do let me know. Yes. You did this, and that's the thing too. Is I think one of the things I wanted to ask is what do you think's the big thing that you made a change in that really made a huge impact on our marriage? And I think for me, for you, like, what I've seen that you've changed that made a huge impact for us was how you started speaking your mind immediately. Yeah. Instead of trying to get me to figure it out, like you'd make clues or you'd be passive aggressive, which I hate so much.
It was a waste of time.
Yeah.
It was a waste of time.
But like, when you started really speaking your mind and saying, hey, you said this, here's exactly what you said. In this context, you made me feel this way. right? And still leaving room for the fact that like that probably wasn't your intention. I'm hoping, right? Like you probably weren't trying to hurt me, but this is how it made me feel. And then you even telling me that of like, hey, when you don't accept responsibility for how you made me feel, like how that did make me feel, I can't move past it.
Yeah.
And so the more clear you became over the years with just like what are you're needing.
Yeah.
Like those times when you're crying and I don't exactly know why. You're in a mood, right? You're just something's happening, you're hurting, whatever it is. And I say, hey, what kind of cry is this? Is this a you need me to hold you, or is this a like you got something I need to fix? Like because us as men, we want to fix everything. Like that's our we're like, wow, I'll fix it. What is it? Tell me what it is.
We just need you to hold us, or sometimes I just need you to listen to me. So
I think that's really good.
Yeah, but that also, I feel like in doing that also was empowering for me to give myself a voice, but also to recognize that, to pause and like take accountability for the small part of like not the whole thing, but there are parts of like, hey, like you made me feel this way. It's like taking a moment of, okay, what am I responsible for in that? Like, I'm not, like you're not always like going to be responsible for the way that you made someone feel, but you could have worded something differently or something. So just recognizing what was in your control and what was your responsibility to take responsibility for, and to come back and work through that instead of just saying, well, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. You know, it's like take responsibility for the part that you had in making someone feel that way.
Yeah. No, I think
you do that. And
well, I think it's so important in discussing that. And like you said too, there's times where you did feel a certain way, and we recognized after sitting down in discussion, sometimes it got a little heated in the discussion, which we're going to talk about, of course, how to fight in a healthy way and discuss and disagree. But, we finally get to the bottom of it, and you even recognize that like, okay, wait, actually, it wasn't even your action that caused me to feel that way. There's something else going on.
Yeah.
Like I was insecure here, or I thought this, which is not the case, but because I'm insecure right now, this is why I felt that way.
But it was because we talked it out that I could recognize these things, or you could recognize certain things.
Yeah. I think, we talk often about this on to Risen Nation and anytime we talk about marriage, but we take that book, Love and Respect, which I think is such a great book for every married couple, newlyweds, planning to get married to read. It's a really great book and it's helpful to see, but women need love. They absolutely need love. And like, when I say that, I mean, I have to say it often.
All the time.
And I track it now because sometimes you randomly do be like, you didn't tell me you love me today. I'm like, no. Look, I did it here.
Or that whole like month where we were fighting over who was going to say it first. Like I would be like, hey, and you'd be like, nope, I'm saying it first.
No, I'm saying it right now. I love you.
Yes.
But you need to hear it. You need to feel loved. But as men really need respect.
Yeah.
Again, in a real type of love, this love we read about in 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7, it entails respect, right? It entails that you are giving respect. And so something for me, like, now I'm not saying all men are the same, but most men, like, they'll get out there and do whatever they need to do when they feel like they are respected by their wife. Where they feel, because it makes them feel more like a man. It makes them feel more respected, which is why I think we see the trend in society we're seeing right now is how, masculinity being labeled as toxic. And you've got men now, they're not even settling down to get married till 35, 36. And a lot of this is due with the culture we're in right now, but too is the lack of respect, right? That's just generally there. And so you do a really good job of showing that respect, which helps me love you better, because I do. I don't ever worry about, we talk about trust and respect and like how you're going to treat me when I'm not, when I say treat me when I'm not in the room.
Yeah.
Like, and how you're going to talk about me around your friends. I mean, even when you are venting over something that maybe frustrated you that I did, I'm thankful that you have people around you that'll give you godly advice and that are for our marriage, which is something else we'll talk about later, is those kind of things. But I think that's important, is that love and respect. And when you feel loved, you give respect, right? And when I feel respected, I give love. But we have to choose at times, just like we're talking about love being a choice, we have to make the conscious decision to do that, even when maybe the other person isn't sending the other side of it our way.
Well, and also as a woman, like respecting you enough to make these decisions, even if, we think that it's the wrong decision, or, like we at least have a a partnership where we can discuss these things, but it's like, if you really feel strongly in this, I have to let you make that decision and respect you to make that decision, even regardless of what I'm thinking in the back of my mind. That's where I've learned to be fine with the submitting word, because I understand it now. As before, I saw it as offensive. I was like, no. But now I understand like the biblical reason for it, and it's not to like diminish anything like that. It's to have a partnership, but to give you that space to, as the head of our house, to make these decisions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. So, what as we're kind of closing this down, what for this episode, what is your advice, or what I guess we say to that person that may be waiting for that person they'll spend forever with?
Yeah. Well, can I have two things?
Yeah, go ahead. Two things.
I do want to say one more thing earlier on, but I'll answer your question of just finding someone that you can be friends with, that you can just laugh and be yourself with, and just have a good time with. Because, I mean, when those feelings of those butterflies and stuff like that, you're still going to have your friendship as that foundation to just be with someone that you could have fun with and joke around. And,
What would you say the importance of because I know, especially, we got married, I was 22, you were 21. Mm-hmm. We got married really young, especially for today's standards. And I'd say, because of my relationship with Jesus, not that I knew everything, but I was, for my age, I was mature in the Lord. Yeah. I think because of that, how do you think important a role is Jesus play?
Oh, absolutely. He has to be first. Like, you have to have a relationship and a strong walk with the Lord to be able to love others. And I feel like loving yourself and loving the Jesus in you helps you love your spouse even more. But I do want to say one more thing. Can I go back?
Go ahead.
It's something that I love about you. It took me a little while to think about it.
Hey, you got it sorted.
Okay. Not that it took me a while to think about it, but just
get your thoughts ordered.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that you've pursued me constantly throughout our marriage, and you've pursued me and gotten to know every version of me, and gave me the space to become different versions of myself, and to learn different aspects of myself. Because that's why you have to choose to love the person, because they're going to change, and you have to allow that person to change and change with them, and love who they're changing into. And you have loved every version of me, the good and the bad, and I appreciate that. But you've given me the space to change, and not made me feel like I had to stay the same and stay in a box. Like, you've let me learn and grow and develop who I am in my walk with the Lord. And I love you for loving all the versions of me.
I love you. And I think that's important. We have to cheer each other on and push each other to our dreams, and realize, that was something that I got asked early on, was what's your wife's dream? And what was brought to me earlier, got slapped in the face almost, was like, it's not that your ministry goes well. Yeah. That wasn't her dream, right? Yeah. Like, she has a dream. And I think remember a couple of years ago, I actually asked you that question. What's your dream? Yeah. And, let's really make these things happen to where you feel like you are walking in what you want to be walking in, and your calling, and your, all these kind of things. Obviously, together, yes, we're called to pastor, but still, you have other things that you want to see happen, and you have other things, and I want to push you towards that, as you've pushed me towards where I'm at today. I definitely wouldn't be the man I am, the minister I am, without you. And so I think that's important for people to learn, is how we can cheer each other on. Yeah. So, well, I think that's it for this first episode, but there's much more to come. And so, guys, thank you for tuning in to episode 1 of The Sweet Ever After. And we're going to continue through these for the next several weeks in February. We're going to have different guests talking about different topics. So definitely stay tuned. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this video. And we will catch you on the next episode, or maybe on Sunday morning if you attend Resignation. So, all right, later.